Okay.
Welcome back to our fourth and final video session on facilitating the Young Entrepreneur Pitch Toolkit. I'm Liz Nuskin. I'm with the Ohio Afterschool Network, and I'm pleased to have you back for this session. We hope you will feel inspired and ready to launch entrepreneur education in your after-school program or classroom after watching all 4 videos in our series. When you watch along on today's video, if you don't already have the Young Entrepreneur Pitch Toolkit in front of you, I do encourage you to pause the video here, go to yepitch.com, register for, download the toolkit, and then have that in front of you as we go through this final video. All right, so I want to show you where we are in this series of sessions that we've been training you on. So we did problem identification, business opportunity, pitch content, and structure. Today's video recording is a combination of pitch practice and coaching and filming for your pitch challenge. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Robin Eisen with Young Entrepreneur Institute.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Liz. I appreciate the introduction. Like all of our trainings in our toolkit, they're broken up into 3 different components: the warm-up, the main activity, and pitch practice. Today's warm-up is called 2 pipes, and I want to tell you a little bit about how we made this 2 pipes so that you can sort of understand how all of this is structured and put together. A while back in our professional development, we invited some people from the theater realm to come in and talk to us about presenting. While a pitch competition or a pitch is not necessarily a theatrical presentation, we felt that those people who had that kind of knowledge in theater would be able to share some of their knowledge with us, because a pitch is speaking in front of people. And what they really did was they came up with this thing called 2 pipes, which I'm going to share in a second. But the reason why we wanted the theater to come in is we felt that those people were really good at things like eye contact and voice and timing and knowing where they were in space. So we used, their expertise to help us come up with what we felt was important for a particular pitch competition. So I'm going to share my screen now and show you what we came up with. Okay, so we came up with this particular lesson. It is in your pitch toolkit. It is it's called the Elevator Pitch Essentials worksheet number 4. And what we did is we came up with these 2 pipes. So here you have all of the PIPES and then PIPES. What I like to do with this warm-up activity is really pretend like we're in the theater. Now, the first P stands for projection. Depending on what age student you're teaching, they might know what that word means and they might not. So what I like to do is I'm the first actor, if you will, and I'll say, projection, what does projection mean? And I will act out the word until I get the students or my participants to understand that projection means speaking clearly, articulately, and loud enough for everyone to hear. And then we'll go through each one of these pipes: inflection, pace, eye contact, stance, and we'll literally act it out. So if I'm online, my stance is not going to be good if I'm slouching like this. This isn't good. Everything else in my presentation could be good, but if I'm going to give it like this, even if I have the right projection, inflection, pace, and eye contact, my stance isn't good, and I'm going to get really docked some points for that. And we'll go through each one of these in an acting way and have the students kind of come up either to the front of the classroom or take the Zoom front and center person and present and act these out and over exaggerate them so they understand that you really need, you can't talk completely very, very quickly or else no one else is going to be able to understand you. Like really go fast, or conversely, really go slow. So, like that, overemphasize it, and they kind of get a kick out of that. And then the second pipes, make sure you know who you're talking to, your people. Make sure you share good information, which is really the content from the message map. Make sure you practice, which is the most important thing on this list. Make sure you have good enthusiasm, and make sure you have some good style. This is our warm-up activity, and it's in your toolkit. So then after we go through our warm-up activity, we go to the main event. And our main event today is practice, practice, practice. And what we do with this practice is you can do it in a couple ways. You can break up into small groups, 3 or 4, and practice with each other. And you can do that in person into like little groups within your room, or into breakout groups if you're online. And what happens when people practice is you can realize that you might have a hole in some of your content, that what you thought was crystal clear is not clear to other people. And it's not too late to change anything. Now is the time to, go through and alter things. Or maybe you thought it was a really good flow to go from a really creative opening to your product development, but you forgot to introduce yourself, or you forgot to say your name. All of these kinds of things will come up when you're practicing. And the first time you practice, I recommend that people just literally read their message map and read it with confidence. And the more you go over it, the more you'll be able to put that message map down and just speak from your heart and show your true passion. When we're practicing, we like to do something called glows and grows. And this is really a great way to give constructive criticism and to give constructive feedback to the person who is actually presenting. A glow is something that they do well, and a grow is an area of improvement. This is not easy. It's not easy to get opinions like that. And it's something that needs to be practiced, and you as the facilitator need to demonstrate that. If you think your students are having some trouble with that, I recommend that you either sandwich your glows and your grows, so it goes a glow, a grow, or a glow, or you do 3 glows to every 1 grow. Either way, you're going to have to, judge that with your particular participants. But either way, it's important to give both positive and reinforcement, or a grow. And then what you're going to want to do is also have your students in these smaller groups give that feedback and be able to receive that feedback. And then another idea here for practice, practice, practice is to have your participants actually film themselves and then take a look at what that film is, and analyze it like that. Instead of just getting up in front of everyone, actually practice filming it and then showing what the glows and the grows are from there. The important part here is that they really practice, and I recommend that you practice all the time. You have to practice out loud. Practicing in your head, while that's good, when you actually practice out loud and you practice saying the words, it comes out differently. It comes out at a different pace with different inflections. You might stumble on some words that you're not really stumbling on if you're just practicing in your head. So it's very important to practice, practice, practice. I recommend that people practice to whoever is at home, to the mirror, to stuffed animals, to trees, to dogs. Really, as long as you're practicing out loud, it doesn't matter who you're practicing to. Practicing to a person gives you the chance to get your glows and grows. But the important thing is that you practice, practice, practice. The other thing that I like to recommend for this main event is that you watch some other films, and we have those in our toolkit. We have we have films of both good and bad pitches, and we have access to other winning pitches that you can see and analyze what these students did well, and also where they can improve so that you can get a better idea of what you need to do. Really, once you've practiced, you can move on to your last idea or the last component of what our toolkit says, and that is practicing your pitch. So here, while it's practice, 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 here it's a formalized practice where literally every student gets up and gives a pitch. And that is the bulk of this particular lesson. So once you have everything practiced, you move on to filming, and I'm going to let my colleagues tell you about that. So good luck with everything.
Sounds great. Thank you, Robin and Liz. I'm just going to take a minute to tell you all a few best practices for filming. The first would be to make sure your organization, your school, whatever group you are working with has the proper releases signed off, media releases, especially with younger kids. So that's sort of number one, don't film unless you make sure you've got releases. And then we wanted to let you know that at YEI, we host contests, and OAN, as Liz mentioned, does as well. And we use a platform called Reviewer, which is very easy to use, a very simple registration, and I think you'll find it very easy to use. If you ever have any issues, any problems, don't hesitate to contact us. So I just wanted to share with you for a moment a checklist for filming video pitches. I hope you all can see that, but as Robin talked about, practice is obviously one of the most important things, and she gave you ideas of the mirror or the friend, but practice is key to a well-done video. And timing it, make sure it's about 30 to 90 seconds and that you are comfortable with the amount of time that you have spent on your video. In terms of filming equipment, you do not need anything fancy. You can record with a video camera, a tablet, a smartphone, any device which you seem to have handy and feel comfortable with. Just a reminder though to make sure that your equipment is working properly, it's charged, and it has enough storage so that you can get your pitch on tape. And if you need any cords or any other kind of equipment, just make sure you have that handy as well. In terms of a filming location, you just want to make sure you kind of choose a quiet spot. It doesn't have to be a fancy spot, it can be anywhere. But just make sure the acoustics are fine, no loud noises, no bands in the background or traffic going by, anything like that. Just a quiet spot. And also have a good look at your lighting. Make sure your lighting doesn't have shadows or glare or bright reflections that can be distracting. So if you're filming outside, just avoid direct sunlight and glare. But you could just, if you're inside, turn on some lights and make sure that you have a good glow on it. A plain background is better than a cluttered background, so just try to find a spot that is, whether it's a plain wall or plain grass outside, anything that's easy and near you but doesn't have too much behind you. We want you to be in the frame. In terms of filming, also maybe try a sample video. Make sure everything sounds good, that the background's good. Sometimes you catch something while you watch it that you might want to make a change. Set the camera at eye level or slightly above, and you could possibly use a tripod, or you just use a flat surface or a friend to hold it. And just make sure you're looking into the camera and speaking clearly. All the two pipes to a great pitch that Robin was talking about. And if you have to hold notes or you like to hold notes, you can hang them maybe from the camera and just look up often for eye contact. Avoid zooming in and out, and landscape format really is the best, horizontally versus vertically. And last but not least, just always smile, relax, have fun, and be yourself. And also, if you are in a live competition and practicing for that, doing a video ahead of time is also a great way to practice. You can then see yourself, make any adjustments you might need, and just get ready for that live pitch. So sometimes just an internal video of your own is a great way to practice. So I'm going to turn it back to Liz, who is going to talk about hosting a pitch challenge.
Can't hear you. Liz, you are unmuted.
All right, now I should be able to speak and be heard. All right, so I get to share with you some of the things to think about when you're planning your own pitch contest. So here I have some pictures from some Ohio pitch competitions from around the state that were great fun and gave students a chance to shine. So some things to think about is, first of all, the format. Do you want to do a virtual pitch challenge, which has been done with great success? You can do that very easily. Or is it going to be an in-person event? If it's going to be virtual, is it going to be synchronous or is it going to be asynchronous? All of those work fine. You just need to plan ahead of time. Think about the scope. Are you going to involve just your group of students, your classroom, or are you going to have multiple classrooms or groups within your organization, or maybe even are you going to do a contest between different sites or different programs? There are other youth serving organizations in your community that you can pitch against. Do you want to do a freestanding event or do you want to tie it to an existing event, like maybe a parent night or a community open house? What kind of technology is needed, Zooms or iPads? Is this going to be a competition or a showcase? Are you going to have prizes and winners, or is everybody going to get a chance to shine and show their business ideas? Does your school or program have a media club? And if so, can you involve them in helping filming your students' pitches? Be great to involve them as well. What's your venue going to be? Is it going to be in a gym, a theater, cafeteria, or classroom? Or is it going to be someplace in the community, like a local business? Or is it going to be a virtual event? When you're thinking about planning your event, we encourage you to plan at least 4 weeks out and do backwards planning. So that will give you enough time to get everything worked out and get your invitations extended to parents and guests if you plan at least 4 weeks in advance. We encourage you also to think about, do you want to have a media campaign that advertises the event? Is that something you're going to be sharing on social media, your website, or are you going to send out press releases? Next, I want you to think about, how are you going to engage your community? And this is one of the most fun and beneficial aspects, I think, of holding a pitch challenge. You can invite in new partners and stakeholders and show your community the awesome things that you're doing with the students in your program or organization. So first of all, do you want to invite the media? You could invite a local TV station, like here we have April Alexander in Youngstown with a reporter and a videographer doing an interview. You could have a business reporter or others. You can invite, in addition to sending out a press release, you can invite local media maybe to serve as the MC of your event. Again, just make sure you get those signed photo waivers, and we have the template for that in the YEP toolkit. Do you want to have sponsors for your event? It's not necessary, but it could help you secure some resources, maybe to provide prizes for the students who participate. So judges are a great way to involve your local community. It could be local entrepreneurs, celebrities, school business community leaders, elected officials, chambers of commerce. So on the far right picture shown here, the gentleman in the back in the gingham shirt is actually a state representative, Jay Edwards, who was a judge at the Kids on Campus Pitch Challenge. On the left-hand side, we have some judges from an event in Youngstown, including the woman on the left there was a radio personality. So think about who you want to get into your program and see all the great things that you're doing and invite them to serve as judges. We suggest that you give some thought into how you want to prepare those judges in advance. What do they know about the program? Do you have a judging form that you're going to use? You can use the Young Entrepreneur Pitch judging form that's in the toolkit. We suggest that you train them in advance so they understand the purpose of the program, and we actually have a PowerPoint from an organization that we could share with you that they use in training their judges. You might also want to involve educational partners such as your district business advisory council, the school board, superintendent, or also an institution of higher education, either professors or students or a local entrepreneur club could get involved as judges. Another way to engage your community is to have guest speakers. And you can have local entrepreneurs, you can have representatives from the chamber. You can have your local makerspace come as a guest speaker, but we also encourage you to think about having your parents, because many of them are entrepreneurs as well. If you're going to have prizes, again, we talked about the sponsors, or you could get them donated. Something to think about is, are there some prizes that could be awarded that actually don't cost money, but are valued by kids who are excited about entrepreneurship? And it could be a one-on-one consultation with a local entrepreneur. And then finally, after your event, think about, how do you want to promote this awesome event that you held? What kind of media campaign do you want to have? Social media, a picture in the local newspaper, information on your website. You want to have designate someone to take pictures, and you also want to recognize your sponsors and supporters and judges. When you run the challenge, you want to think about not only having the students do their pitches and having that contest part, but is there going to be an award ceremony? Are you going to do some event wrap up and reflection with students? And then also think about, how are you going to thank your partners and supporters too? Are you going to send them certificates or pictures or thank you notes from the students? So plan that out in advance as well. So we hope that you are excited and inspired to introduce the students in your program to entrepreneurship and to hold a pitch challenge. Finally, I am going to share with you our contact information. So if you have questions, you're looking for resources, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you for joining us.